four-time Miss Olympia Jay Cutler. Welcome to my channel, Jay Cutler TV, and make sure to stay in tune with the newest and updated videos. Subscribe below, guys. Thank you so much for following along.
All right, we're rolling through them. Go ahead, Doc.
6-1 says, people hail metformin as a wonderful drug. Me too. My experience has been terrible with it. Sorry about that. In late 2016, I started taking it for high blood sugar and promptly started having a lot of stomach discomfort and problems. Actually, somewhat common, but usually only in the patients that need it, in my experience. My hair also started shedding at an alarming rate. I took it for about a month and finally realized it was the metformin causing these new issues. A few months ago, my doc stressed that I needed to get back on it to control blood sugar since my attempts to control it through diet and exercise have apparently failed. So I started back on 500 milligrams twice a day. Just for people who don't know, 500 milligrams twice a day is about 2/5 of the highest dose. If it's a regular metformin extended release, you can go to 2,000 milligrams. It's 2,550 milligrams of regular metformin, so it's kind of a mild dose. But he says, since then I've lost another substantial portion of my hair. It is now visibly thinning, and I hate it because I've been working on growing and having awesome hair for years now. I'm 34 years old. Hair loss doesn't seem to be in my family history that I know of, and now that I've stopped the metformin for about 3 days, the hair shedding has almost stopped completely. I know the manufacturers of the drug lie and say hair loss isn't one of the side effects, but it doesn't take much internet sleuthing to see there are an abundance of males and females who also have these same issues. So between the hair loss and stomach problems, I don't see how people can stomach this drug. Haha, he puts in parentheses. Obviously, it can be used as an appetite deterrent, so I guess that's one way it helps people lose weight. It actually does it through a lot of different mechanisms, but you're right, if you don't feel like eating because your stomach hurts, that's one way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really a lot better than that. It activates something called AMPK. It blocks the absorption of sugar through the intestines. It blocks the liver's ability to make more sugar. So it's a pretty neat drug when it works without side effects, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I felt like total crap whenever I'm taking it and typically have to visit the bathroom. That's why you feel like total crap, I guess, right? My own pun. Multiple times within a few hours after taking the stuff. And then I lose sleep when I have to keep sitting up because I can't stop burping. Slamming some vinegar/baking soda seems to help with the burping sometimes. Boy, another one, I keep interjecting. Putting vinegar with baking soda is canceling each other out. So you might want to figure out which one does better for you and use that one. You're either using more vinegar than baking soda or the other way around, and either more acid or more base is helping you, but that combination is a weird one. They cancel each other out, in other words. The psychological problems associated with these issues aren't helping either. I've read that B12 and calcium play a part, so maybe some elaboration on that. Information is sparse and doctors just do not care or know how to deal with this stuff. Taking it with meals doesn't matter. I'm thinking about trying some minoxidil, but don't want to waste my money if the hair loss is permanent. What can be done to deal with the hair loss/shedding and stomach problems? What exactly is causing the hair loss? The answers out there all seem to be pure conjecture. Well, add one more to the conjecture. I haven't heard about, and he mentions that unless you do some sleuthing, which I haven't done, that hair loss is not usually associated with metformin. Hair loss in general is secondary to hormonal changes, although it can be from, still stress hormones in stress-related alopecia. It's usually a problem with the hair follicle. It could be, I guess, some sort of infection. Obviously, that's the obvious one too, but it's usually a thyroid issue or a sex hormone issue. But yeah, if it's associated, and I, by the way, don't doubt this fellow at all. I mean, not everything is wrapped up nice and neatly or underneath that Gaussian curve that everyone talks about. We have outliers all the time, and people have different reactions to things that you go, well, that doesn't even make, we can't even figure out the physiological connection. But I believe it's happening. Why the hair is falling out, I can't tell you. The mechanism of action doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Sorry. But I would definitely not waste my money on minoxidil. Minoxidil is, at best, I've seen it grow some fuzz on the top of someone's head, and almost everybody will tell you as soon as they stop using it, like 2 or 3 days, it starts to fall out, that fuzz that took 2 months to create. What I would recommend for the hair anyway is latanoprost. It's a prostaglandin that I believe a guy named Robert Nettles, a doctor, had the distribution rights at some point. I don't know if it was he or someone else who discovered it. It was a glaucoma medicine, and people noticed that, wow, whenever I use the solution, latanoprost, my eyelashes grow like crazy. And anyway, for whatever reason, Latisse used another prostaglandin, didn't use latanoprost, and in my opinion, latanoprost is the better prostaglandin. I think it was a business thing, not a medicine thing, why they chose it. Anyway, it can be used for head hair as well, with great success. Sometimes it makes sense to throw in a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor so that you don't let local production of dihydrotestosterone affect the hair follicle like it can do so much. I mean, that's what activates the genes for male pattern baldness, and it just in general affects the hair follicle negatively. So we can combine latanoprost with finasteride topically, Propecia they call it, the brand, or ketoconazole, anything that blocks that conversion from testosterone into dihydrotestosterone. So that's what I would do for the hair, not knowing what else it could be. Now you say, well, okay, but I don't have to worry about hair loss if I don't take metformin. I don't want to take metformin. What are my options there? And we can avoid the whole problem to begin with. Berberine. Berberine has been shown to be as effective, at least as effective or better, depending on the study, as metformin.
Wow.
It works to activate AMPK the same way metformin does, and without the side effects. Berberine is used forever in Western medicine, Chinese medicine. Typically, it's used as as well as an antibiotic. But again, for his purposes, focusing on berberine, there's some formulations out there. I have to admit, full disclosure, I've created some formulations just because they work so well, using berberine and some others, even blueberry extract. I mean, this is not a pitch for different supplements, but berberine would be a nice second try to reduce blood sugars. And we've already talked about other ways to reduce it. I mean, I don't know. He's coming to our channel, they call it, or on the internet. We deal with TRT. Oh, he mentions it here too. Yeah. TRT, as we mentioned earlier. Oh no, he is a TRT. Yeah. So that might help reverse the sugars too, as we talked about. By reducing the blood sugars quite naturally, increasing muscle mass, increasing insulin sensitivity. So berberine and testosterone may work. Now, because of what I just said about DHT, you'll probably want to take maybe some internally a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor too. Not necessarily do you have to, though, particularly if you have a bad reaction to finasteride or any 5-alpha reductase inhibitor like some people do. You might want to just start with a topical and see, hey, does this combination of topical finasteride and latanoprost stop my hair loss, and I don't have to worry about taking it internally. But I'll move on to the question here so it makes sense, because I didn't read it all the way through. It sounds like he is taking TRT. I'm a bit confused with estrogen blood tests. There are apparently 3 estrogens, E1, E2, and E3. Yes. Estriol, estradiol, and estrone. And I just keep getting lost in all the info I'm reading. I keep seeing all over the place that E levels should be around 20 to 25 picograms per milliliter. That's E2, estradiol. Big difference between just saying estrogen, E levels. My estrogen total serum levels are sitting around 70.6 picograms per milliliter. Yeah, that's about right. In a range of 60 to 190. Why is that range so high when the goal is 20 to 25? Okay, that's the point I just made. The E2 levels are what they're referring to, the estradiol, when they say 20 to 25 is ideal. You're quoting the estrogen total levels, which are 70.6 picograms per milliliter. So big difference. Okay, I'm taking 1 milligram of anastrozole daily. How can I get my levels down to the sweet spot when I'm already taking what seems to be a high dose of AI? I agree, it's a high dose. Let's get your estradiol and estradiol, sensitive. Because the problem with regular estradiol, again, not estrogen, but regular estradiol, is it's designed to measure the estrogen in women, estradiol, in women. And that's going to be more mid-range, like 150, let's say. To get accurate levels for a male, you got to get, you don't need estradiol ultra sensitive, by the way, don't spend the money. Estradiol sensitive is good enough. But I've seen, when the lab made an error, I've seen an estradiol regular with an estradiol sensitive on the same lab. One read 16, the other read 64. That's how off, how inaccurate an estradiol regular can be for a male. So again, understand that you're confusing apples and oranges here. Estrogen total serum is one. Estradiol sensitive, or estradiol in general, is something different, but estradiol sensitive is what you want, and let's follow up and see. Anastrozole 1 milligram every day is a high dose, and my hallucination is that, yeah, you're over-suppressing estrogen already. Is this estrogen total serum test not the test I should be looking at? Well, I just answered that, it's all right. If so, what should I be telling my doctor to check? Okay, we got that. I know TRT can cause hair loss, but I do not think that it's what's happening. I'm currently on a strange TRT protocol. It's 200 milligrams every 4 weeks. Yeah, that is definitely strange. Meaning ineffective, man. That's a roller coaster ride, and that can lead to hair loss. You know, I've had about a half dozen issues in a lot of patients where they lost hair on the head, and it wasn't necessarily once they started testosterone. In fact, most cases were at least a year or more. And one of them happened to be on a very popular, very well-known hairstylist. Didn't go over too well. But the consensus has been that it was because of the shock to the system of hormones. And all of the patients who experience this, but for one that I know of, has gotten back on replacement therapy and had no further issues. So manipulating your hormones like this, meaning having them go up to what should be therapeutic and then drop down again, can definitely be affecting your hair in a negative way. Not happy about that, and I'm feeling basically no effect at all. Well, you're not going to feel effect with that dosing protocol. That's not going to be helpful, and I can say that without hesitation. You know, without treating from afar by video. That protocol, there's no science behind that. My last test, which was a few weeks after my first cypionate injection, showed 432 nanograms per deciliter total test and 116 picograms per milliliter free test. Well, those numbers don't mean anything. Why? Because they have to be in relationship to one another in the sense that we have to know when your last injection was compared to when you drew labs for the assay. If it's 4 weeks after, yeah, they're going to be in the gutter. If it's 3 days after, you're probably going to see your peak level of testosterone. So it's very important to have that information to be able to judge. Before I started TRT, I was sitting around 365 and felt like total death. It's worth noting that I was on pellet insertions before this. My last injection was in December 2017, and after I had a pellet extrude itself from that one and 2 really small pellets from my September 2017 insertion, I decided that I wasn't continuing with an expensive treatment that had basically no effect past 1 week when it's touted as lasting 6 months. And I would also add it's pretty barbaric to have to go through all that stuff too. I'm not a big fan of pellets. I mean, God bless you if you use them and if they work well for you, but there's too much variability in that, and it takes a lot more titrating, a lot more messing around with the pellets to get the right dose, in my opinion. So anyway, I can't afford $650 every 2 months. That's also a factor. It's expensive. And the scars, yeah, that's why I say it's kind of barbaric, are obnoxious. It's not to say there aren't doctors who can do it without making scars and without making a big hoo-ha. There's people that can do it right. There's some benefit to pellets if it suits you, but just not my favorite. And generally, I don't see it helping people as much as simply injecting once a week. And don't seem to heal, and the insertion sites hurt for over a month. So now I'm on SIP injections, too far apart, but it's a start at least. And my insurance covers it, so yay. He throws in some test results. Yeah, these numbers don't mean much. it's definitely shut down your own production. His luteinizing hormone is 0.2, and his FSH is 0.7. So it's definitely shut off your own endogenous production. So it's working just like I said, birth control, just enough to stop your own production. But then you're 3 weeks miserable because your levels aren't going to be high enough with that dosing pattern. So I don't need to read the rest of them, but I apologize for the long-winded email. Feel free to edit if you choose to do. I just did a little bit. Sorry. Love what you guys are doing as informative hell. Keep it going. So, bottom line in all this is, you got to get a more standardized, shall we say, testosterone replacement program going on. Typically, that's roughly a cc a week of testosterone cypionate, 200 milligrams per ml. That's a good starting dose. You say how old he is, and I would consider berberine to replace the metformin and see how you do. It might solve all the problems just getting on the testosterone, and watch out for the conversion to dihydrotestosterone. Use a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor if you need to, but I would consider starting with the topical. But the sugar issues may all go away once you get on testosterone and start working out. You still got to do the work and eating properly. You can avoid metformin altogether. Although I would suggest that metformin, a lot of anti-aging experts will say we ought to put it in the water. It's still a pretty good tool for a lot, if not most people, for longevity, optimization of health. And again, maybe once the blood sugars, you didn't give me blood sugar numbers, but once they reduce themselves enough, he won't have the side effects. Again, in my experience, it's the people who actually need it for blood sugar control, who are pre-diabetic or above, that have the side effects. Most of the people who are doing it for anti-aging purposes, for optimization of health, don't have those issues. But again, try berberine.
Nice.
Okay.
Thanks, Doc.